could prime Joe Bartolozzi outsmart Plato. Joe Bartolozzi is a philosophy graduate who graduated with magna cum laude. In other words, he had pretty good grades. Plato, on the other hand, is perhaps the most famous philosopher of all time. But for the important part, who is smarter from a philosophy perspective? Well, there's a little bit to introduce before we get into that. So Plato was taught by Socrates. He did not just come up with everything by himself. He was taught by someone who was already a philosopher, and he developed his own philosophical thoughts. Some of his most popular works include the Allegory of the Cave. Now here's the thing, Joe Bartolozzi, having taken philosophy and graduating with a philosophy degree, is very familiar with just about everything that Plato has done. All modern day philosophers learn about old philosophy. And you might be thinking, what does a philosophy degree do? What did Joe actually learn that he's supposed to apply to everyday life? In simple words, it's reading between the lines. For example, if someone's deciding whether to stay home or move abroad for work, a regular person might ask, well, what's the best option for me? Joe might ask, do you care about your friends more or do you care about the money more? Let's say this person picks money. Joe might then ask, is the upfront cost worth it to you? Now this is a very boring scenario, but what I'm trying to tell you is that modern day philosophers are trained to read between the lines. They are trained to ask multiple questions for each question that already exists. So instead of answering one question, you're gonna divide it into three and answer all of those. And that is how you can get a specific pathway tailored for you. So how does that compare to someone like Plato from over 2,000 years ago, living in Greece, doing fuck all and eating grapes? Well, Plato had the advantage of having a lot of free time because there wasn't nearly as many distractions as there are today. Now, the observant among you may realize Joe has far more access to knowledge thanks to things such as the internet, so this would not be a fair comparison. So instead, we're going to compare real life scenarios that both of them could go through, that Joe, as someone with a philosophy degree, and Plato, someone who pioneered philosophy as we know it, would be able to debate upon. Situation 1. Let's bring back what we were talking about before. Should I move abroad for a great job opportunity or should I stay where I am? Like I said, Joe might ask, do you value your loved ones more or do you value money more? Plato might ask, would the job benefit your character and would it help you live the life that you want? So we're comparing more of a rational side from a younger person who's taught to be more organized and orderly by a system as opposed to someone who's never exposed to such system in the first place. Scenario 2. One partner gets into an argument with the other because one isn't spending enough time with the other. Joe might ask, what does enough time mean? While Plato might ask, when we spend time together, are we doing it just to fill a hole in each other's hearts or to build each other's character? Scenario 3. Telling a white lie. Joe's thought process might be to weigh the pros and cons. How much does it matter if I lie to this person? How significant is the lie? What if they find out? Plato might ask, does saying any kind of lie pull me away from virtue? Does it make me a shittier person, to put it bluntly? Rather than is saying a white lie convenient, is it disrupting the fundamentals of my morals? Joe, among all philosophy graduates, is taught to be logical, rational, and look between the lines. Plato was never confined to such rules. And science tends to say that 25 years old is when the brain fully develops. Plato lived to 80, he had plenty of time to think. Joe's not even 25 yet. Hell, I would argue, if you ask Joe himself, he would say, well yeah, I've been on this planet for such an insignificant amount of time. It takes years, decades to hone in an opinion. You can't expect me to be super in depth on these kinds of things, especially off the rip, and not allowing me to think for minutes, hours, days. So I think it's safe to say from all of this, no, Joe Bartolozzi probably wouldn't outsmart Plato in this purely philosophy-based scenario.